Dear student, hello and welcome to this class of mobile computing. In this lecture, we will have some introduction about mobile computing. So let me give you a brief history that normally we have computing resources that are static and they actually spend their whole life at one location. You can see here in this diagram, we have at least 4 computers and they are working together in the form of a network. They may coordinate with one another through some tangible links, and there is possibility of a different environment, like we can have a peer-to-peer environment between or among these computers, or it can be a client server environment in which all these nodes are dependent on a server, and anyone can be a server among these nodes. So for the whole life, these computers will stay at one position and they will remain static and can't change their position throughout their life. Though they can compute, they can uh, collaborate, and they can share information with one another. Another form is mobile computing, in which your cell phone, your iPad, and your laptop can work like mobile computing. That is the laptop, and this is your iPad. So look at this, with these devices, you can move from one location to another location. And you can freely change your position and still you would be able to connect with the other resources. So mostly the connectivity is wireless when the devices are mobile. So here you can see in this lecture that we will discuss later on. So coming now toward this lecture, here you can see we have mobile computing, and here the nodes are connected with one another through wireless link. These are certain laptops. Here you can see, and these laptops are connected with one another through this access point. This access point is linked through a wired network with the main infrastructure. So here in this slide, you can see that different nodes are combined with one another, and they are. Here you can see in this slide that wireless link are actually used to connect these mobile nodes with the base station. So this one is the base station, uh, and the base station is actually connected with the infrastructure, with the network infrastructure here, the cloud you can see here. And similarly here in this circle, you can see 4 nodes are connected with the base station. So the connectivity from base station to this laptop is wireless, and the remaining base station connectivity with the infrastructure is a fiber-based connectivity through a wired link. So the connectivity of the base station with the mobile node is wireless, and this link is actually used as a backbone for this network. Now, in this diagram, later on at the bottom, you can see that a node want to move from one access point to another access point. So here is a registration procedure in which this access point will give acceptance to this new node who is mobile and coming from this access point to join the access point number 2. So this process is actually called handoff process, in which the required resources are prepared for this node here on this access point number 2. So this mobility will take place once this laptop or node, which is moving from one base station or access point to join another base station. There are multiple access protocol coordinates that are used to access the medium as well, that we will discuss later on. You can also see here that we can have different types of nodes as a host that can include your laptop. It can be the PDA, personal digital assistant. It can be your iPhone. And there are different types of application running on these devices. There is a possibility that the nodes may move from one location to another location, or they may be static or stationary to stay at one location. So there are different types of mobility that a node can do, and that can include, let me explain here, sometime the node can move as a pendulum. For example, we have a node here. This is a node, and it can move back and forth. So this is a movement like back and forth movement. And it actually move like pendulum. So if you can draw the route or the path for this node, then it is moving between 2 points, node or point A and point B. There is also a possibility that, for example, if this is the area for our node, then the node can move in XYZ plane, the node can move in X plane, and the node can move in Y plane only as well. And similarly, we can also, this is called a simple mobility in a single plane. Simple mobility in a single plane. Similarly, the node can move from one location to another location following a zigzag path. And you can see here that this node is moving in multiple axes at the same time. And later on, we can add some mobility, some past time during this mobility, that the node will stay here for certain time. So this is a past time. And once the node approaches this point, it will stay here for example, for 5 to 10 seconds. And meanwhile, anyone can transfer or deliver data to this node. So this is the past time. Then we have different types of mobility pattern that can be used for mobility of a node. We can also have a controlled mobility model in which we can give the XYZ position. For example, X is 20 and Y is 30. So, and the time slot is, for example, here I am giving 10 a.m. So at 10 a.m., that the node will be at position X20 and Y30. So that is some sort of, and next, for example, if I want to move this node from this position, so this is again X, this is Y, and now the time can be 10:15 a.m. So at 10:15 a.m., I can give the new location to this node in which the x-axis is 30 and y-axis is 45. And later on at 10:30, we can give the next position that can be 35, and this is the x-axis, and the y-axis could be 55. So here the time slot will be 30 am. So now if you can see, this is the control mobility. We are actually giving a position to a node, and then onward the desired time is, well, that at this time, and the required position from the node is this one. These are the three positions, and definitely the node will move to access or to reach this position at the given time. We can also uh, define the speed of the node as well, that the node can move with 5 meter per second, or you can see 10 meter per second, and so on. So we can also define the mobility pattern as well as the movement speed for any node in these networks. So here you can see this node is moving from one location to another location, and later on it will join the next access point. Here is now the detail about the base station, where these base stations are connected with the wired network. You can see here with this infrastructure, this network infrastructure is totally wired, and that is a fiber-based infrastructure. These relay points or relay nodes are responsible for sending data or information between wired network and wireless network. So these access point actually work as a relay point, and they are able to transfer their data from the next node to access point, and then from access point to the infrastructure. And for example, you can see in our cellular network, we have cellular towers that are called BTS point base transceiver station. And onward, we can also have the wireless access point standards that are 802.11. The network infrastructure available here are a fiber-based network. These are large network with which a wireless host want to communicate, and they can receive his data and forward it to the destination node or to the required destination. These network are traditional network, as we can already know about, that these traditional network are totally wired network, and a complete infrastructure is available for them. There are proper servers, there are switches, there are routers, there are gateways, and sometimes there may be a possibility that these infrastructures are not available, and you are trying your best to get help from some other nodes or intermediate nodes and forward your data toward your desired destination. Uh, in infrastructure mode, as we discussed, that the base station would definitely be connected to the wired network, and these network will provide all the necessary services that are important to keep the communication alive, and that includes the addressing of these nodes, and similarly the routing mechanism. As in this diagram, you can see that these three nodes are actually trying to communicate with any of the destination node. And the infrastructure is providing help for this purpose to receive data from these nodes and forward it to the desired destination. As I told you earlier, that sometime if a node moves from one location to another location, in which the access point or the base station is also changed, is called the handoff. And the handoff procedure can be seen here, where the mobile changes its base station and providing connection to the wired network. So this node was connected earlier with this base station, and now he is changing his base station and going to join this network. So only the base station will be changed in this handoff process, and the remaining, the underlying infrastructure will remain the same. So that's why only the connectivity or the first connectivity point will be changed, and then later on the infrastructure will remain the same. Here in this node, you can see this is with infrastructure, and over here we have the infrastructure-less network. And these networks are called ad hoc network. There is no base station, there is no network infrastructure. The nodes can only transmit to other nodes within their coverage area. Now look at this. This is the coverage area of this node, and any node which comes inside this coverage area will be detected, and then automatically the information will be shared, or the communication will start between or among these nodes. These nodes or these networks are self-organized, and they discover the route among themselves gradually. Now, once they start communication with one another, if they are in the range of one another, then they will start the communication, and later on they will know about each other. As you can see in this diagram, that we just throw these nodes, and then they start communication, and the four nodes here on the left side of this slide make or establish a network connectivity with one another. So these are the nodes which have a connectivity link with one another. Maybe there is dependency as they are unable to access one another directly, but there is indirect connectivity or connection between these nodes. Out of these five nodes, one node is not in the coverage area or the range of these nodes. So that's why he will stand independently and will be there till the remaining part of his life. As the nodes are not mobile, if they are mobile, then there is possibility that we can move this node over here or move this node in the mid and provide connectivity to this node as well. So as we discussed earlier, we have infrastructure versus ad hoc mode. In infrastructure mode, the wireless hosts are associated with the base station, and traditional services provided by the connected network, for example, address assignment, routing, and DNS resolution, that is domain name services, is provided by the infrastructure. Look at this. These nodes or these network are dependent on these infrastructure, and if for example there is any collapse, there is any damage, there is any blockage in the network infrastructure, then they would not be able to communicate with one another. In ad hoc mode, we have no infrastructure. That's why we say that these are infrastructureless networks. Now, wireless hosts have no infrastructure to connect, so they have no dependency on any infrastructure. The host themselves must provide the network services. So if we can have a look to this network, then here the nodes are playing the responsibility of a sender at a time. The node can be sender, the node can be a receiver, and the node can be, look at this, here the node can perform the role of a sender, the node can perform the role of a receiver, the node can perform the role of a forwarding node, or you can say the role of a router, and the role of a server as well. Or you can also say the role of a switch as well. So every node is performing all these roles, all roles performed by a single node. While in infrastructure, This is infrastructureless. While in infrastructure, all these activities are performed by the network infrastructure themselves. So here you can see that in ad hoc mode, hosts themselves must provide all the necessary network services. The similar spirit as we discussed earlier, that there can be the difference between the two type of communication model that we follow is client server communication model and peer-to-peer network. So in client server communication model, we have a master slave environment. Here you can see we have a master slave environment. This is a server, and all these nodes are dependent on these. This is the server node, and these are the client nodes. So these clients are like slaves, while the server perform as a master. So this is also called client server environment, CSE. Client server environment are also called master and slave environment. While another side, the peer-to-peer network is a bit different. Every node have equal rights, and it depends on that who is requesting to whom. If this node is requesting, then it will become a